third verse kind of does a lot of heavy lifting. I wanted to acknowledge that women are treated badly in murder ballads, and I wanted to give the murdered party agency. So she's haunting her murderer, and making his life terrible, and he's paranoid and he's worried about seeing her, and so I wanted to do that, and in similar vein to some modern ones like Gillian Welch and David Rawlings, Caleb Meyer. The Chicks have like Goodbye Earl, and but there's a great song by Dirk Powell who it's called I Ain't Playing Pretty Polly Anymore. Basically, it's a song about acknowledging that murder ballads are problematic, and I think it's a great point. I do think they still have a place, and I think folks like Colder Wall has Kate McCannon, which is just a traditional, flat-out murder ballad, and I think there's good ways to deliver those. But for me, I wanted to give the lady some agency and get him back a little bit, and I think that's where we landed.
I find it interesting in country music and in folk songs that there's so many, like the banks in the Ohio. Mm-hmm. Why did he kill her? Just because she would marry him, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, that's it, right?
Well, and I think you have to consider, like, not to get like super into the political nature of it, but like, at the time, women, they weren't seen as equal in society, and to bend a knee to the man that's what women did, and I
think it's the guy that gets down on his knee to propose.
Well, yeah. That's like the one time, right?
That's the one time.
Wow, damn it. What was the
I'm so sorry.
No, keep that though. Keep that though, please.
So women, you were talking about women not being seen as equals and having to bend a knee.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I think you just have to consider the context of the time. Women were not seen as equals. And frankly, I think in a lot of ways it was kind of a propaganda tool of like to keep women in line. This is one of dozens of songs where if the woman doesn't listen to the man's request, he just offs her, which is, we're looking back now in a modern context, it's almost like not funny, but it's just funny to think that's what people would do.
Because there's so many of them.
Yeah,
of the songs.
Right. But and I think a lot of them though, like Polly Willaims is a real life example. She's a Pennsylvania, folk tale, but it's a true story. She I think it was the White Rocks, followed this rich young man, and people said he was to propose or something, and she didn't want to, so he pushed her off the rocks. So I don't want to say that was par for the course because it wasn't, but it was prevalent. People were doing that.
It was around enough that there are multiple stories that are exactly like that.
And what a horrible thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only thing we can do now is to acknowledge that's obviously not the correct course of action.
Yeah.
Right? If you get rejected, you just gotta figure that out for yourself. But I think it's a good. I have another song called "The Witch," and it's just women with agency getting back at the guy, And obviously, I am a guy, but I think it's just important to have those acknowledgments.
I think you don't have to be a part of the oppressed people group to want to speak out against it or whatnot.
And I think that's the nature of folk music, I mean, obviously not those songs, the murder ballads, but you gotta, it's actually a good thing to speak up for the weak in society and the people that, the underprivileged and the oppressed, and that's our duty,
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that a lot.
Thanks.